Hello everyone. Welcome to Caribbean Focus TV. I'm your host, Dawnette Lowndes, and today is Saturday, the 22nd of February. I'm here to share an important and urgent event that directly impacts our community. Georgia Caribbean Votes is bringing us a powerful discussion on executive orders impacting immigrants and what we can do to protect our communities and mixed status families. In these challenging times, staying informed is key. That's why we're bringing together some of the most influential voices in this conversation. You'll hear from elected officials sharing policy updates, immigration lawyers explaining the legal impact, activists and faith leaders advocating for change, and impacted families sharing real-life experiences. We're here at the Rock of Ages Lutheran Church, located at 5135 Memorial Drive, Stone Mountain, Georgia, where this event is currently taking place. This is a conversation we cannot afford to miss. If you or someone who you know is affected by these policies or simply want to stand in solidarity, make sure to stay tuned to CaribbeanFocus.tv for more updates. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and share this message, because when we stand together, we are stronger. Stay focused.
Caribbean Votes is an organization that started with a group of concerned citizens back in 2020. And as we grew, we found the need to organize formally. And so when we organized formally, we became Caribbean Votes Inc., a 501c4 organization. Our vision, and we'll have that a little later, but our vision, which is on a sheet defined, it says, we are the heart of the Caribbean community that transforms political conversations. We're the go-to group that provides a unified voice and indispensable access on issues that shape our future. And with that, our mission to see that this vision comes to reality, our mission is to engage, educate, mobilize, and advocate for the church.
Focus TV will bridge the gap and bring us together. Facing tests and trials, we'll fight for survival.
Nothing less than a pleasure for me to be here representing tonight Barbados in Georgia and the Caribbean community at large. Our South American brothers and sisters are, again, as John stated, there's some angst in the community, activism with administration, and we're really looking to our representatives, our experts, our legal leads to really give us some answers, help us be prepared, and help us navigate what we're experiencing. With that being said, I want to introduce our elected panel. We do have another representative, so unfortunately she's not here, but for that, Austin has graciously stepped in, so we have to switch some stuff up, but nonetheless, we're going to make it a breeze. So Derek Jackson is a fifth-term Georgia State Representative for the 68th District. His leadership is informed by his 22 years of military service and a decade of corporate experience. A dedicated community champion and nonprofit advocate, Jackson brings integrity and enthusiasm to his role. He is currently pursuing his doctorate in public policy at Walden University. His core college degree, demonstrating the commitment to lifelong learning. Representative Jackson is married to the Honorable Leah Jackson. They have 7 adult children and 1 grandson. Representative Jackson, if you don't know, is represents the 68th District, which is Carrollton, Temple, and Middle River. Welcome, Jackson. And as I stated earlier, Austin Thompson has graciously stepped in to be part of the panel this afternoon in the absence of Representative Schofield. So Our state representative he's a councilman on the Lawrenceville City Council, and he will give his short bio.
Thank you. Peace and blessings, greetings to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here at this Immigration Summit as we discuss some very important things about immigration and our communities and how we're dealing with the current state of affairs. My name is Austin Thompson. I'm currently serving in my first term as councilman for the city of Lawrenceville. 2023, I served as deputy mayor for the city of Lawrenceville. My background is diverse: engineering, project management, adjunct professor, author, community activist, and so on and so forth. You can find me by Googling my name, you'll see all that stuff. Right? I don't like to read on my resume. But my most important thing that's near and dear to my heart is community affairs. How we are taking care of the people in our community. I know there are many representatives of the Caribbean community here who have known me. I've been in Georgia now for 33 years, and my heart has always been in the community. Working with different groups, individuals, taking care of individuals, and taking care of the issues and the challenges that are important to us as Caribbean people. But now, in a public policy role on the municipal level, I get to shape policy as an elected official for the city of Lawrenceville to make sure that those who have long been underserved and underrepresented have a seat at the table, have a representative at the table who will look out for them and take care of them. So my name is Austin Thompson, City Councilman, Lawrenceville, Georgia, and I'm glad to be part of this camp. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you both for your service. I know serving the public policy and creating and shaping policy is not easy. So what are your thoughts on the executive orders, especially those that impact immigrants?
Yeah, so again, good afternoon, everyone. Derek Jackson, as it was stated in the intro, great to be here with you all. When I think about what's happening with regards to these executive orders, first off, we should not be surprised. We should not be surprised because we were out and about all last year talking about Project 2025. That 922-page document are the executive orders that you see today. Every single one. Unfortunately, he is executing executive orders outside of the legislative branch. Much of his 210 executive orders are unconstitutional. He's breaking the law. As one that has been in my fifth term under the Golden Dome as a state legislature, when you think of these executive orders, not only is he inflicting pain to all of our communities, but he's also firing a lot of people. Just yesterday, we had the CDC, for example, down at the Capitol, where he fired 1,300 federal employees that work in the CDC. How important is the CDC to us? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Because right now, we're dealing with a quademic situation. We got the seasonal flu, that's what we have every year. Then we got the bird flu, right? That's starting to grow. Now, mumps, measles, those things that typically are suppressed because we vaccinate all of us, right? We all got a shot in order to go to the public school system. Now we start to see mumps and measles. Let's just take measles, for example. Measles can kill you. It can blind you. It can hurt your immune system. And so if we do not have doctors at the CDC, those who study vaccines and bacteria, right? There's no other CDC like it is here in Georgia. There's no other state have a CDC. This CDC that's right here in our backyard solves world problems. His executive order took us out of the WHO. Why is that important? Because it not only impacts the United States, but it impacts the Caribbean community, it impacts Europe, it impacts Africa, it impacts South America, it impacts all of us. Why is that important? Because right here, Hartsfield International Airport, right outside my district here, gets 114 million passengers that come through Georgia. All of these diseases are transferred from body to body, human to human. So if you have a global airport like Hartsfield that's coming through Georgia from all over, and we don't have a CDC on the front line of defense, that's placing all of us at risk. That's the reason why I call it a quademic situation. We all watched just simply 40.5 years ago, where COVID shut the entire world down. We do not want to be in that state again, ladies and gentlemen. And so these executive orders impact us from a healthcare standpoint, it impacts our education, it impacts our livelihood, it impacts our jobs, it impacts our security. And as a retired naval officer, I did 22 years in the Navy. This individual fired those who watch our nuclear weapons. As a retired military officer, he is firing officers, 3-star, 4-star, those who I served with. He just firing without cause, no reason. So these executive orders are doing exactly what he prescribed last year in Project 2025. And so we can get more in detail with these executive orders, but they're unconstitutional, they're against the law, and there's a reason why 22 states, not Georgia, because we have a governor that doesn't care, and we have an attorney general that doesn't care, so they did not sign on to the lawsuit. But there are 22 other states that filed 55 lawsuits against this White House. We never have to legislate through litigation. Litigation was not designed to legislate. That's the reason why you have legislators. And so we talk at nauseam about these 210 executive orders that are unconstitutional, and they have already fired nearly 300,000 federal employees. Let that resonate for a second. 300,000 federal employees. So it's not just the CDC, it's not just USAID, it's not just Homeland Security, it's not just Social Security, it's not just the IRS, it's not just the FBI. He's firing all of these individuals that's designed to keep us safe. If you do not have the FBI and the CIA, we're going to have more terrorism. You thought 9/11 was something. So there's a lot we can do. And we're already starting to do that. The Caribbean community, the Black community, the Brown community, we're already demonstrating we the people can do a lot. And we started with stop calling Target Target. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. We do. Okay? And we're going to negatively impact them $16 billion. Because if you don't like us, you do not deserve our money. And so these executive orders, I always talk about DEI. There's no reason why diversity, equity, inclusion should not be part of the United States. Even God himself understood diversity was good. Because he made man and woman. Then he turned around and said, I'm going to make some brown people, black people, yellow people, green. He started making everybody. The Creator himself understood the power of diversity.
Councilman Thompson, at your city council level, what does that impact look like for you?
Okay, at the city council level, municipal level, we have about 20-something% of immigrants in our city, comprising Africans, Caribbeans, those from South Asia, and other parts of the globe. We are a very diverse city. We are a city that prides itself in welcoming everyone from different backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, and we want to make sure that we are exercising that inclusivity for everyone. There are three branches of government. You have to understand this. Three branches of government. The legislative branch, that's where the laws are created. The judicial branch and the administrative branch. Once both branches, both sides of Congress deliberate and vote on legislation, it goes to the president for him to sign or veto. What the president is doing is overriding that entire process with his executive orders. An executive order, he said 210 executive orders, we are 30 days in. 30 days in out of a 4-year term. We have to really understand the gravity of what we're experiencing in this country. The very first, the number one executive order was to exonerate 1,500 criminals. 1,500 criminals who overran the U.S. Capitol. To do what? To kill the Vice President, hang Mike Pence, and to kill the Speaker of the House at the time, Nancy Pelosi. Now, these executive orders are being presented as good for the country. We're uncovering fraud, we're uncovering unnecessary spending, and we're cleaning up, we're draining the swamp, as they like to say. But when you really look deep into it, who's really running this country? Is it the elected, or is it the person who paid $300 million for a victorious result in the election cycle so that he can come in and run the country? So it's impacting everyone in the country. Doesn't matter what you look like, how you vote, doesn't matter what language you speak. We are living in dangerous times. In my city of Lawrenceville, we are making sure that we are looking after our community, especially our international community, especially for me as an immigrant coming from the cooperative Republic of Guyana in South America. It is important for me to look after our immigrant community, right? The one thing that I think people really have to grasp, right? I understand that there are Trump sympathizers out there, and they are. There are people. I was listening to Rachel Maddow the other day, and she was reading off a bunch of statistics. And there are people that still sympathize the MAGA movement and sympathizing our president. He has supporters. We've seen the deportations. We've seen the videos of ICE agents, going to schools and businesses and removing who they identify as illegal immigrants. And deporting and putting on buses, separating families. We don't know how much more executive orders we're going to see. I don't even think it's a cat. I think it was just a run on executive orders. And this is how he's going to govern. He's going to continue governing. He's going to bypass. Even now, calling himself a king and stating that he is the law. He is the one. He stated this in an interview.
So we're living in some very challenging times. And I give thanks to my sister, Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas, who is a strong voice. Who is a very strong voice. No disrespect to the other elected officials. Sometimes you can't play politics with everything. You can't play politics with everything. You gotta stand up. Even Auntie Maxine was out there. She was out there in front of I think it was the Department of Education. And she was questioning why is there a security guard at the door, why you have all these 18 and 19-year-old computer scientists, computer technologists infiltrating our systems, having access to our social security numbers, access to our bank account information, access to our personal information. We are living in some very interesting times, and this is why we have to speak out and speak boldly about what's going on, because it's the only way that we're going to confront this elephant in the room, this beast. Because, again, it is incumbent upon us to come together to really make sure that we're doing what we need to do in order to confront what we're experiencing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hall.
That was a question for Councilman Thompson.
Absolutely, go ahead, sir.
And Councilman Thompson just reminded me of a couple of things. There was a horrific death that took place up in Athens, Georgia, right here. A UGA student by the name of Laken Riley. That bill started right here in Georgia. And then it ended up in Washington, D.C. And then after the person that's currently occupying the Oval Office signed the Laken Riley Act, inside that bill, they cleverly put a poison pill in there to not only to detain and deport immigrants and migrants, but anyone else that's along with them. So we could all be walking down the street, find ourselves detained and deported immediately over to Guantanamo Bay. Because after he signed that bill into law, in less than an hour, he opened up Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. I was stationed down in Guantanamo Bay. You do not want to be down there. It's an old naval base that we used to use for training some of our SEAL team and special forces and things of that nature. Now that has the capacity of holding 30,000 individuals. And they've already started taking individuals from Georgia down here. Their loved ones don't know how to reach them, can't contact them, and they're doing this all through the name of Laken Riley. Also in that same act, something that we did not do in the United States. You could not allow for ICE to go in 3 locations. They could not come into a church, a hospital, or a school. Those were safeguarded places for those who are here. You could not have ICE go into a place of worship, a hospital, or a school. Well, in that bill, it allows for ICE to now go inside of a church, a hospital, and a school. Okay? That's the first point. The second point is this. With regards to access our information, there are 272 million citizens right now. Elon Musk have our information. 272 million of us in this country, he has our personal information. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, you can go to your bank account, and if your bank account has 0, and you know you have some money, but if it's a 0, who are you going to call? Because he also wants to get rid of FDIC. That's the other piece that's in this executive order. If we remove FDIC, the very thing that we started in 1933 to safeguard our money in any bank, big bank, small bank, little bank, black bank, white bank, doesn't matter. The FDIC guaranteed our money. So now, if you go to your bank account and you have all zeros, who are you going to call to get your money back? You don't have any access to your own bank account information. And we don't know to what degree of the 272 million people that Councilman Thompson was talking about. But I just want to give you all the gravity of what's happening. We don't have to think that, well, this is not going to happen to us. There's 272 million citizens in this country right now. They have a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old with all our information on their laptop.
Just take that for a moment. We rattle ourselves every day with, keep trying to keep ourselves secure as possible, passwords and everything else, and remember just to keep ourselves secure, keep off of the dark web. And just decide right here in our country, our second home, our adopted home, this is what's going on. So we're gonna move on. Newsweek reported almost 38,014 cents Trump's inauguration. That's just what the news reported at that time. Just like the 210 executive orders, that was 210, but it's 210 and counting. How is this impacting small businesses and the economy? Councilman Thompson, I'm going to start with you. I know that's kind of your forte.
Well, we have to think about human capital. We have to think about our farms. We have to think about our factories. We have to think about many industries that employ the immigrant community to work in many of their facilities and what that represents. When you have large businesses like that, one I named, it takes a lot of individuals to really drive those operations forward. Small businesses drive the U.S. economy. 66% of all net jobs are created by the small business community. 30 million small businesses in the United States of America. And many of these businesses rely on the immigrant community. A community that has been demonized and called criminals and rapists. When our president ran the first time, he said, they're coming across our border, they're reaching our border. They're rapists, they're murderers. A man who himself employed immigrants in his construction business, and even if they were undocumented, he knew about it, and overlooked the fact that they were undocumented. But after he got his edifices constructed, then he decided not to pay them or underpay them because of their immigration status. So taking advantage of it. So the impact on our small business community, what that's going to do, we're seeing farmers complaining already. When you go to Publix, when you go to the farmer's market, when you go to Aldi's or wherever you're going, many of the fruits that you buy, the apples, the oranges, the grapes, the blackberries, the blueberries, the red berries, the strawberries, all the fruits you buy are picked by those who came, whether illegally or illegally, come to the country. They're coming to look for a better life, just like my family did, right? But many of those are picked by immigrants. And we're seeing with the executive orders, it doesn't matter if you came here illegally or not. They want to deport everybody who is not born in this country. I am a naturalized citizen of this country. Got my citizenship 5 years after immigrating from Guyana. I am also a target by the simple fact that I was not born in the United States of America. And even with all my accomplishments, they can still pick me up because I was not born in this country, and God knows where they would take me, right? So the impact on small businesses is significant. It's seismic.
Because, for instance, in Dalton, Georgia, the carpet industry of the state, many of the workers in that industry do not even come to work anymore. They're not coming to work for fear of being picked up. Workers on farms and in other industries are not coming to work for fear of being picked up. So we really have to understand it impacts our small businesses. And from that, it's not even just tariffs. Even from a deficit of human capital, we will see prices go up. I took a picture of the egg shelves at Kroger, apologizing that we have a shortage of eggs. We have a shortage of eggs because now we don't have the human capital to get those eggs into the processing process and get ready for shipment to the grocery outlets. And because there are a deficit of eggs, of course, supply and demand, prices are going to go up. That's just one example. So it's impacting not just small businesses, but it's impacting large businesses and people are starting to wake up and realize. They're starting to realize the impact of this. It's seismic, and they're only 30 days in. And our small business community, they're going to feel that impact. Many of the bodegas, many of the shops, many of the grocery outlets, you look at all of the panaderías and the supermercados that are owned by Mexicans and Guatemalans and Hondurans, many of those people might not even be able to open their doors and serve the community. The employees. So yes, it is a tremendous impact on the small business community, and it's going to be a tremendous impact on our pockets.
So Councilman Thompson, so Representative Jackson, just kind of going down a bit more, Councilman Thompson, so what's that look like for the economy here in Georgia?
Yes, I appreciate being on the panel with Councilman Thompson. So when you think about Georgia, we just signed a $40 billion budget here in Georgia. $40 billion, that's a big deal. We have $19 billion surplus. We all know what a surplus is, right? That means you paid all your bills, and what you got left over is $19 billion. We're a pretty wealthy state. But you wouldn't think that because we are not doing the things that we need to protect over 700,000 small businesses. That's how many small businesses we have in Georgia. 700,000. We got a lot of small businesses that we should be helping to make sure whatever they do at the federal government level, we can protect it at the state level. That's the reason why, as I continue to say what I'm about to say, it's not only Trump that we have to be worried about. We also have to be worried about a guy named Kim. I know it's about to get quiet, but step on toes. This guy has not helped our communities at all. There's a reason why Black women's health in Georgia, when you look at all 50 states, we're ranked number 50. What? Let that resonate for a second. I'm gonna lean back before I do my clinical hard and lean forward. You're telling me states like Mississippi, and if you're from Mississippi, I don't have nothing against Mississippi. I don't have nothing against Alabama. But they don't have the money that we do to take care of our people like we can here in Georgia. They don't sit on $19 billion surplus like we do in Mississippi, Alabama, or Florida, or North Carolina, or South Carolina, or Tennessee, or Louisiana. Kendrick Lamar was right, they're not like us. Out of the 11 southern states, Georgia is number one in terms of financial stability. And that's because the 33% of us in this room positioned Georgia to be like that. We did that. And so if we're not doing what we need to at the state level to protect those of us in this state that position this state to make sure that our queens get the health care that they need, and that our babies get the public education that they need, and that we get the security that we need. There's no CDC in Alabama. There's no CDC in Florida. And so there's a reason why I'm saying Kemp too. Right? 40,000 Georgians died during COVID that did not have to die in Georgia. 40,000. 40,000. When I was in the military, if you lose one person, you have to go before an arrow mass. If you lose one person, it could be because of the training, because whatever reason, one, as an officer, you have to give an account. Now, thank God I've never lost anybody in my 22 years. But that's just one person. He lost 40,000. You know how many small businesses went under during COVID? Under Kemp's watch? A third. They didn't close their doors because they wanted to. So the economic impact, to address your question, is great. If we do not do what we're supposed to do, from the governor to all of us under that gold dome, we have to make sure that our health care, our public education, our quality of life is all preserved. That's our responsibility right here. Separate and apart from what they do in Washington, D.C. That's why every state is its own sovereign entity. We have two constitutions, the Georgia Constitution and the United States Constitution. A lot of folks may not know that. Our minimum wage, for example, anybody want to take a guess what our minimum wage is? I know you know, you can't answer it. $7.25. Nope. What's our minimum wage? Huh? Nope. Now the federal minimum wage is $7.25, but what's Georgia's minimum wage? Huh? $5.15. So yes. So we told the federal government, and this is not new. It's been $5.15 for a long time. But y'all don't get angry enough. I have a bill right now that I introduced to take Georgia's minimum wage from $5.15 to $15, then next year to $20, and then the third year $27.86. Now you probably say, well, where did it take my $27.86? I bet you that, because that's a livable wage. That's why Georgia was able to have a $19 billion surplus, because we make the money in Georgia. You just don't realize it in your pocketbook, in your wallet. The reason why we have an affordable housing crisis, which is another big economic indicator for us, you know why we have an affordable housing issue? Because you can't afford it with $5.15 on the table. Increase your wages, and everything will be affordable. Increase your wages. Give people what they're worth and what they value. Right? From the council level, from the county level, to the state level, to the federal government. We control that. We control that. At the council level, they look at everybody from their staff at the county and city council level, municipal level. Then the county is next. We control how much folks earn in our society.
So we hear that these.
I'm sorry, I'm long. Okay. But economics is my thing. game. That's what I'm telling you.
Information, you two are alone now, so I do want to give the audience an opportunity to ask any questions. Anything that possibly I was going to ask, I did have some moment again, in the interest of time, just want to make sure we stay the same. Anyone in the audience have any question for Representative Jackson or Councilman Thompson? Anything that may not have been covered in regards to immigration status and acts that any family members, friends, that may be feeling, anyone that was impacted with what we're seeing around immigration. Right here, can someone have a mic to get to this gentleman right here, who's stand, sir?
I'm an immigrant permanently from 2016. I came straight from Jamaica to Georgia. My green card expired 2018. I filed a petition. I got it renewed. I got 3 years left on my green card. But my concern is all what's going on now with this thing about permanent residence. A lot of us are worried of when it comes to renewal of our green card. And then I get concerned, when you arrive at the airport, you're asking you to sign a document. If you have to sign that document, you agree to abandon your green card. Some people are not it. You don't have to sign it. But what my concern is when my time for renewal. That is my concern. If they can refuse to renew my green card.
I think that's a question. Thank you so much. So that, we actually have a panel coming up with attorneys that will be perfect, and they can give you the educated answer on that. So hold tight, and make sure you remember that question, so you can ask it again.
Right, but I just want to say though, your concern is a very valid concern. One of the executive orders is to change how we look at visas and everything, and green cards. But it was pushed back a little bit because Elon Musk came out and said, well, wait a minute, hold up, y'all. That would now impact my businesses.
Me president.
Yeah, with him. Right? And so we're going to see a huge fault line between Musk and Trump here pretty soon, because when you think about his corporations, how he's bringing in folks from, overseas. If you look at these young men that Councilman Thompson talked about earlier, those 8 or 9 young men, they're not all were born in this country. Okay? So, but it is a valid concern. The only thing I would add, just this, if I'm not here, is this. If all possible, if you should try to get a valid driver's license. Here's the reason why you get a valid driver's license. Because in Georgia, we have a law that allows for you to travel with your driver's license. Because we have put a little star in the upper right corner. Y'all probably didn't notice that, huh? Right? That's brand new. Because it allows for you to travel from state to state. They're very clever. That little star there allows for you to go from here to Alabama, to Mississippi, to New York, California, without it. Right. There's a reason why we're trying to make all these changes through your ID. Because if you look at the Project 2025, they're empowering law enforcement to stop you and ask you for your papers. When the last time we saw something like that in the United States, y'all?
Jim Crow.
Jim Crow, thank you. You don't have to be doing nothing. We can just simply walking down the street on our way to get some chicken. Right. And they can ask us where your papers. So I encourage you, I had a few ones, even me, I went and got my new driver's license. Just in case whatever they're doing at the federal level trickles down to the state level. Because it takes a little bit of time.
My question is,
Thanks, sir. You can stand.
my question is, suppose if you got that driver's license, but you have, can you not not going to get your ID, the driver, the Georgia non-driver's ID, isn't that just as good as we have a driver's license?
Right, great question. So there is another ID that we provide here in Georgia that's not a driver license, but it allows for you to vote, it's another form of a government issue ID. And so in our laws here in Georgia, it doesn't have to be a driver license. It just has to be a government issued ID.
Okay, so we heard from Representative Jackson on what that law looks like for Georgia, and again, follow up in the next segment, we'll hear from Attorney. Do you have a question back here?
My name is Tony Dillon, former Trinidad resident, but I'm a United States citizen. So I hear a lot of information about what the government is doing, all the negative stuff, but I don't usually hear what the officials on the other side, like you guys, I would hear a lot of positive stuff on the other news, like what you guys should, information that people should hear. So I hear all the negative stuff on the news, on social media, but I tend to less hear positive stuff. So what you guys are going to do to put more positive stuff out there for citizens or immigrants, undocumented immigrants to follow on?
Well, I can tell you, in the city of Lawrenceville, we have a marketing department, and we're constantly communicating through our marketing department with the manager of Constitution about what we're doing in Lawrenceville. And I can tell you honestly, with ICE, what they're doing, the program with ICE and the 287G program is to deputize different counties and police departments. It's almost as if they have a contract with these law enforcement agencies to identify and profile individuals to pick them up and jail them, right, under the suspicion that you are illegal. In the city of Lawrenceville, we are not doing that. We can't do that when you got a Guyanese and a Jamaican Cuban sitting on the city council. You're not going to touch our immigrant community like that, and we have. This is why representation is right. This is why representation matters. Because we sat down with our police chief and police leadership, and they are vehemently opposed to even being used as an agency for ICE to go and pick up anybody else. So they are not doing it. We're not doing that in the city of Lawrenceville. We are committed to that. But, the thing is, you got to protect yourself as best as possible. Have whatever documents you need to get. We're going to have that segment subsequent to our panel, and you'll be able to ask those panelists all the immigration questions, right? And before we go, I just want to thank you for your service, for your 22 years of Navy. Thank you for your service. I wanted to say that initially, but I forgot. Because even the military is under attack. Even the military, we see Pete Hegseth being nominated as Secretary of Defense, and we know this story is Pete Hegseth. But we also know the line of individuals like Lloyd Austin and Donald Rumsfeld and so on and so forth. The history, and then now you sort of muddy the waters with this guy, right? I think just 2 days ago, we saw a Naval commander, Air Force commander, and Army commander all relieved of their positions. These are the top generals, the top commanders. So even our military, we've seen the rescinding of security clearances from John Brennan, John Bolton, Leon Panetta, right? These were directors of the CIA and FBI. So even our military people are under attack. They even wanted to remove the history of the Tuskegee Airmen. At West Point, they are no longer honoring
diversity, equity, and inclusion when it comes to recruiting African American students at West Point. So we're seeing an attack on our military personnel and the people who are responsible for protecting our democracy and our sovereignty. So I want to thank Representative Jackson for his 22 years of service in the U.S. Navy, because our servicemen and women should be respected for the work they do. Thank you.
I want to thank you both. We've come to the end of this segment. I'll just give you a chance in one moment, but we hear the gravity of what this new administration is putting into place, what the game plan is, and it's one thing runs throughout. Be involved. Be involved at every level. At your school board level, where you may have children or grandchildren, at your council, city council level, definitely at your state legislative level. This is where the laws are made that impact you day in and day out. As a homework to do for you, Senator Jackson, all in that. But I'll just give our panelists one last chance to make just some brief closing remarks, and then we'll move on to our next segment.
Well, I definitely want to pick up where you just ended in terms of being involved. Because to the essence of your question, my dear brother, there's tons of information for the Georgia Dems, the Georgia representatives, and the Georgia Senate. But we got to do a better job, as the good councilman just mentioned, in terms of marketing that information. Because there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation, so it's hard for us to discern what's real and what's false when we're all operating in that same space in terms of social media. Because not everybody watches television the same way, right? You're streaming, you're on Netflix, you're on Hulu, YouTube, and so everybody gets their information on so many different platforms and channels. So we just got to do a better job. I will leave you on with three numbers. You gotta let this resonate. 75 million of us voted for her. 75 million. 77 million voted for convicted felon. That's 152 million that voted. But 89 million of registered voters did not vote. What was said or not said of the 89 million, what was it that they were not seeing, that the 152 of us were seeing? 89 million registered voters did not vote. Let me bring it to Georgia. 740,000 of us registered voters did not vote. 740,000. And so we got to be open and honest, my dear brothers and sisters. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to make sure we hold each other accountable. This was not a question about the price of eggs. This wasn't a question, is she black enough? This thing was much bigger than that. This question is, do you want to be able to walk up and down this street without being asked where are your papers? To have a job. To be able to renew your green card without the fear of being deported to an island that you cannot reach your loved ones. And so we got to do a better job in being open and honest, right? I just noticed my two colleagues, they're fighters under that golden dome with me. We got to be real about this thing. We got to be authentic. We got to be open. And we got to trust each other and say, did you vote? Better yet, we're going to go vote together. Now, my last point of the clearing call is for all the sisters. Because 92% of the sisters voted.
92%.
Right? Yeah. 87% of the men voted. So there's a 5% difference. Want me to tell you why you can make that 5% difference? You sisters, y'all know what you gotta do. You sisters gotta say to your boo, right? We're going down and vote together. That way you know you and your boo have voted. And I guarantee you that 87% of us men will slowly but surely come up to that 92%. Right? So it's gotta be okay to stand shoulder to shoulder with our sisters. I do that every day and it goes down. Right? And so that's my clarion call to you all. We can win this thing, we can do this thing, we can protect this thing, but we gotta do it together. Because the injustice of one is the injustice for all of us.
Thank you, Representative Jackson.
That's what's that?
Councilman Thompson.
We've got to organize, we've got to strategize, we've got to mobilize as a community. And I ask the audience, don't just wait for your elected officials to make a move. You all can organize and strategize and mobilize. Within your communities, within your respective groups, because we need everybody. The talking points and what's being put out there, we're trying to uncover fraud, we're trying to uncover overspending and misuse and misappropriation of monies, and we're trying to bring about true democracy in America. Listen, they have nothing but a bag of thieves, all right? Let's just call it like it is. Next up, Fort Knox. There's a plan to go to Fort Knox and see how much gold is being held in Fort Knox. This is the stuff, seriously, when you watch the news, sometimes you sit there, you're like flabbergasted because you cannot believe what you're hearing. There's no governing of America. There's a gutting of all of our federal agencies and everything, all the checks and balances that we've come to know keep us safe as a country. The checks and balances are being removed through these executive orders, not by Congress, but by executive orders. So I want y'all keep that in mind, and it's going to affect the lowest level of our communities, like even at the municipal level. In our communities, we got to watch out for our area community. This is a state that elected 5 Nigerians in 21, excuse me. Representative Gabriel Poirier, Representative Shehu Aliyah, Tisha Gisi, our late sister who departed us, Phil Olay, and Solomon Adesanya to the State House. Immigrants from Nigeria who are shaping the laws of this state and making a valiant contribution. They're not criminals, they're not rapists, they're not murderers. They are businessmen and women who have a vested interest in making sure that our state remains the great state of Georgia. We are the #1 state in which to do business. 8 years in a row. And we have to make sure that we're continuing to protect our community and protecting our veterans, protecting the good people of America, and especially here in Georgia. So the only thing I leave you with, organize, strategize, mobilize. Go back to your respective communities, organize meetings, call your local congressmen and women, and let them know that you are concerned with the current state of affairs in this country, and you want them to do better. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And this,
Caribbean Focus TV will bring